Bout 20 right here at the Barclaycard Arena in Birmingham, England. It's game time. 3 5-minute rounds in the lightweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, a Brazilian Jiu-jitsu specialist and Thai kickboxer. He stands 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighed in at 156 pounds. A record of 5 wins, 4 losses, and 0 draws, with 3 of those wins by way of submission. Representing more fire icon Jiu-jitsu from Luton, England, Jefferson, Shadow Demon Blaximus, George! And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, an MMA fighter. He stands 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighed in at 154.2 pounds. A flawless record of 6 wins, 0 losses, and 0 draws, with 4 of those wins by way of submission. Representing Premier MMA from Harrow, England, Rick Selvarajah! When the action begins, your referee in charge, Mr. Leon Roberts.
Leon Roberts once again, the third man in the cage. The door is about to close and we will see if Rick Selvarajah can maintain his undefeated record or if Jefferson George can get back in the winner's circle.
Yes, Mike, and as we mentioned earlier, that the crowd an unbeaten fighter can bring, the momentum they bring with him, a huge support here for Selvarajah. But as we said earlier, this is his toughest test.
Hands a little low here on Selvarajah. Let's see if George can capitalise, maybe power through with the right cross, and there it is from him.
Well, they're low because naturally you know where he's wanting to go, don't we, Mike? He's going to want to go for that shoot eventually. But it also shows a confidence as well in his timing and his range.
High right roundhouse, Selvarajah, nice footwork to get out of the way, drifts back to centre cage, pots a jab of his own, overhand right there from Jefferson George. Good inside thigh kick from Selvarajah.
Well, the interesting thing for me, Mike, is when they go to ground, as we noted, the majority of Jefferson's wins are by submission as well. So we've got 2 men standing upright that are known to finish on the ground.
Nice inside thigh kick from Selvarajah, looking for the counter off the hands, Jefferson George.
The right hand counters the textbook reply to that inside kick, but you don't want to keep taking that kick. You want to start jamming, you want to start going out the way. Having said that, nice right kick to the thigh himself.
Beautiful trajectory on that kick there from Jefferson George.
Oh, it's chopping down on the muscle, Mike. Brilliant.
George just a little fake here, looking to throw the right hand down the tube if he can, but Selvarajah constantly on his bike, constantly circling, wants to be circling off to his right though, not drifting into that right hand of Jefferson George. High right round kick from George.
I was just about to say, Mike, and that right leg as well, because George is throwing it early. But I do like that inside leg kick. If Jefferson doesn't start to sort that out, it will take its toll on his mobility.
Jefferson George has never won a fight by knockout or TKO. 3 submissions and 2 decision victories so far in his 5 pro wins. Wild uppercut almost took out the ring lights. Good inside thigh kick again, hard to that femoral profunda of Jefferson George.
Oh, he's targeted, and it's a definite statement from him, and he's looking to slow Jefferson down, and it will happen, Mike. Now he looks at the other side of the leg. It's a good tactic.
It's been the best strike of the fight so far, the inside and outside thigh kicks of Selvarajah.
But the other thing it can do, Mike, is you get into a pattern. Your opponent does it as well. And what I think he's doing is setting up a pattern before he goes for the takedown attempt. You lure your opponent into, oh, it's kick, we're staying upright, we're staying upright. The man's noted for submission finishes. I think he's luring Jefferson George into a pattern and a style of fighting. And then when he feels it's the time, then you go down.
Jefferson George is backing Selvarajah against the cage, throws a cork into the outside left thigh. Good old-fashioned foot stomp there from George. Let's see what he can do from the clinch. Selvarajah, will he look for a takedown? He's got the underhook on the right arm here, Selvarajah. Throws a nice knee to the upper right rib cage of George. Foot stomp from Selvarajah now. Both men trading foot stomps.
Yeah, we can get a rhythm going here, Mike.
Overhook on the right arm here from Selvarajah. Still backed against the cage. 125 remains of this first round.
And there's not been a great deal between them. I mean, we mentioned the fact that Jefferson hasn't finished by KO, but he's looked quite dangerous upright. As you said, there was the good kicks, especially from the right leg. And I think the only difference between the two men in the judges' eyes at the moment are those devastating inside leg kicks.
Have to agree, Malcolm, if you're going to edge the fight one way at the moment, it has to go to the leg kicks of Selvarajah. Looks for a trip takedown and gets it now. He's inside the closed guard of Jefferson George with just under a minute remaining in the round.
Yes, Jefferson's comfortable on his back, but I don't think that was the way Rick Selvarajah would have wanted to get there. As I said, I was convinced he was looking for the setup, but it didn't pan out that way. But it'll be interesting to see what he can do now with just under a minute left. But for me, by getting into that position, Mike, if we stay there, this is going to be his round.
Selvarajah is the choke specialist. Rear nakeds and triangles are the choke of choice for Selvarajah. Good work off the back here, though, from Jefferson George, remaining busy with his strikes.
Yes, he'll be comfortable off his back, no problem. And again, little strikes with the heel to the thigh of Selvarajah as well. Always busy, always making him think. There's been... Oh, and look for the arm himself very quickly there, Jefferson George.
Back inside the closed guard, final seconds of this opening round. Elbow there from Selvarajah, and we go to the towels.
So, Mike, in that opening round, really, it's those inside leg kicks that were the dominant feature of the round overall before the takedown from Selvarajah.
Definitely think that if you're going to score the round, you've got to go the way of Selvarajah, courtesy of those leg kicks. It really was the defining feature in that opening 5 minutes. Some chances against the cage to land the knees for Jefferson George, but those leg kicks to the inside and outside of the lead thigh of George do prove the difference. Great crowd continues to file in here at the Barclaycard Arena in Birmingham. We are ready to rock and roll. Second round of action between Rick Selvarajah and Jefferson George.
One thing that did impress me about George, though, Mike, was even though we felt Selvarajah took it and was the dominant man on the ground, George did so much that the submission attempts really didn't even look a factor from how busy George was off his back.
Inside thigh kick to open up here from George. Let's see if he starts checking those leg kicks from Selvarajah. Good counter right hand there from Jefferson George. Uppercut to a hook, both off the back arm. Inside leg kick, high on the thigh. A little bit more of a confident start here from Jefferson George. Now finds himself butt scooting. Looks for a takedown submission on that left leg, and Selvarajah out of trouble.
That was unfortunate for him because he fell there because the foot landed almost like a slap. Another inch of balance and inside, and that would have been a clean shin on the face. But instead it was more like a slap, and that's why he fell.
Corner calling for Jefferson George to throw the knee, and you see Selvarajah momentarily puts on a knee guard.
Well, he's thrown it too late, but they were on about the left knee, and Jefferson's thrown it now, but it was there to throw earlier, as they quite rightly said. But Mike, it's always easier for us out here, isn't it? We're not the ones in the heat of the battle there wondering what mistake, especially against a guy so deadly with submissions. But the corner were right, the left knee was the shot to throw.
Foot stomp again from George. He liked those throughout the first stanza. Looks for a takedown to Selvarajah, can't affect it. Gut munching knee from him.
Yeah, the timing was perfect on that. He saw the opening, did it perfectly.
Good knee to the outside thigh from George.
Now here's another variable to throw in, Mike. Jefferson George is used to going the distance. He's very durable. Rick has only gone the distance twice in his career now, and you know that if it goes to a third, George will still be there and he will still be incredibly strong. I don't know if it will be a factor. I'm just throwing it out there to think about.
Some better signs of confidence from Jefferson George in this round so far. Both men trading knees now. Good knee to the midsection from Selvarajah.
And he's creating space again. It can go again soon. Oh, this time it's George throws it though.
Looked for a foot stomp, didn't get it. Selvarajah might try and effect a takedown here, working to create some space perhaps.
And Mike, we've had a full half of the round in the clinch.
Both men exerting plenty of energy. Drops down looking for the legs. Selvarajah to no avail, however. Overhook on that left arm from Jefferson George.
You saw the strength of the man there. That's what I was talking about, that durability and strength he carries.
High knee from Selvarajah and again. And George breaks off with a glancing right hand.
He needed that because that second knee was very close to landing very cleanly.
Jab outside thigh kick from George. Nice trajectory on the leg kick. Right hand there from Selvarajah.
And again, for a submission specialist, very patient on his feet. Happy to stay upright.
Under 2 minutes remaining in this second round. Selvarajah winning the first, perhaps, courtesy of the leg kicks. He hasn't brought them as much into play here in the second.
I feel the second's been far, far closer with very little between them.
Good outside thigh kick from Jefferson George.
Well, with a minute and a half left, you could almost make a case for him this round.
I would have George slightly ahead of my scorecard. You've got to wonder why Selvarajah is not throwing as many kicks to the lead thigh as he was in the first round. It was his best weapon.
As he did just there to the inside thigh. But you're right, he slowed down incredibly on that. And really, to get success there, it's that momentum that wins in the end. It's the consistency that finally takes it away from your opponent.
Little popping right hand to the jaw there from Selvarajah. He's got to go back to those leg kicks. It's where he had all the success in the opening round.
Oh, I think there's a finger in the eye. I don't think it was intentional, but Jefferson George stopped immediately.
Thumb poke there, accidental from Selvarajah. Glances towards his corner, Selvarajah, as the referee Leon Roberts looks over the eye here of Jefferson George. You wonder if the corner are telling Selvarajah, go back to that leg.
Yes, it does make sense, Mike. It's the consistency of that technique. Let's see if we can see the... Yes, it's there, the left hand of Selvarajah, an immediate response from Jefferson George.
Doctor in the cage here with Jefferson George just to check the vision. Hopefully he'll be okay to go on because this was a much better round from Jefferson than the first.
I agree, Mike, totally. He's really... And the thing is, he's kept the centre of the cage, hasn't he? He's been the man just slightly pushing forward consistently. Which is, again, I pick up on your point. I don't understand why Rick isn't chopping at that leg every time Jefferson comes forward. It's there for him.
It's a wide stance on George, and he's right there for him. There's the inside thigh kick from Selvarajah. But again, not pulling the trigger as he was in the first round. Now backed up against the cage.
To me, it seems rather tentative for a man that's unbeaten in 6.
Corking knee and a foot stomp there from Jefferson George. Selvarajah turns him around. George puts on the knee guard. Nice defense here from Jefferson George.
Yes, he's again showing that strength. A turn and a quick knee attempt from Selvarajah.
Selvarajah dropping down. We'll look for a takedown. Still can't affect it. There it is. End of 2. We've got one more to go. A much better round for Jefferson George. He may have edged that one.
I'm tending to agree with you, Mike. It was very close. But I think when you look at it over the full round, possibly when everything else is equal, you look for ring dominance. He was the centre of the cage, he was the man pushing forward. And when you look at it overall, he might have stolen that. So I feel with 1 to go, it's still anybody's game. But I want to pick up on what you were saying earlier. For a man that was doing so well in the first round, Selvarajah seemed to step off the gas, didn't he?
Yes, particularly with those leg kicks to the inside and outside thigh. That was the technique he used to clearly win the first round, and he seemingly left them in his corner for the whole second round. And you've got to wonder if the corner's going to tell him go back to work on that lead leg of Jefferson George and put those points down for the third and final. One more round to go. It may very well be 1 round apiece after 2. First round going to Selvarajah. Second round to Jefferson George.
Yes, I agree with that, Mike. I feel there could be everything to fight for. Again, we must stress there's 3 judges here that will make the decision. We hope ours is an informed opinion, but it is just that. For your pleasure, 3 judges will decide who's dominant here, but we feel it's very, very close.
Will Selvarajah get his 7th career victory and remain undefeated, or will Jefferson George continue the trend of win-loss as he has throughout his last 8 fights?
Well, again, you saw the strength of man. Brilliant takedown defense there from Jefferson George. And as I said, the one thing in his favor is that durability. He's used to going the distance.
Selvarajah looking for a takedown here. Corner have perhaps instructed him they want to try and find a submission. Well, they know that Jefferson maybe got the upper hand in the stand-up, Malcolm, in that 2nd round.
That would be the obvious thing, given his record and given his skill set. But I feel, again, we talk about matchmaking between bouts. This is the perfect time, obviously, for Rick Selvarajah to meet Jefferson George. It's a real challenge for him. He's only gone the distance twice. He's blitzed people with his submissions. Now he's in the 3rd round, and he's got to dig deep. Whichever guy wins this, I feel it's great matchmaking and perfect timing at this point in Rick's career.
Chance for the knees here. Selvarajah gets one to the inside thigh of George. George turns him around against that corner post. Nice knee from Jefferson George off the left leg.
Selvarajah felt that one as well. You could tell from the body language, like the way he twisted away, he didn't want to take another one of those. And I think what Jefferson George has done so very well is minimise the potential for takedowns, for Rick to play his game. He's taken that away from him, and again, it's a rather sloppy takedown attempt from a man that is a submission specialist.
Oh, good knee. Selvarajah nicely done. Good knee to the inside thigh from Jefferson George. Close 3rd and final round so far. Still anyone's for the taking. Just under 3 minutes remaining. Hammer fist strikes to the thigh there from Jefferson.
Yeah, it's very close, Mike. I mean, this has been fought amazingly, which has shocked me, against the cage for a long period, and in the clinch for long periods.
Tremendous energy being exerted. Good call from the referee to break these, man. That's what the crowd wants. And let's see who gets the strikes off. It's a jab from Selvarajah. Wild, untimed overhand right from George. Not so the inside and outside thigh kicks from here.
Yeah, the inside, that right leg kick now from George, inside and outside, has been effective. And it's little things like this, when it's so close, could be the sole difference in this bout. I'm intrigued how the judges are going to score this with just over 2 minutes left.
Jefferson George has found his leg kicks, and once again Selvarajah has left his at home. Where are the leg kicks of Selvarajah he was using to win the 1st round?
Well, I mentioned earlier, Mike, about the fact that only twice in his career has he had to go the distance, and Jefferson George does sap the strength from you when you're working with him, as you've seen here. Every takedown attempt has been avoided, and he's got all these little tricks and all the little things that he does to keep you upright, and this takes its toll.
Beautiful elbows we saw there to the lat region from Jefferson George. I have him slightly ahead in this final round, Malcolm.
I have as well. I mean, Selvarajah desperately went for that single leg, and he hasn't got it again. And this has been the story of the fight so far for him. His takedown attempts have quite simply been unsuccessful.
The one part of the fight that has been successful for Selvarajah, the inside and outside thigh kicks from the 1st round, have not come into play here in the 3rd. They hardly come into play in the 2nd. He wears an elbow and an uppercut. Jefferson George is bringing it home strongly.
Now, this is what we were saying about the step up.
Beautiful belly to back suplex from Jefferson George. My word! And he locks in a body triangle.
Mike, it was a real turnaround. To be honest, we saw it coming in this round. And I mentioned before, I was just about to say to you about the stamina issue with it going and with someone so strong, and I think that was proof there.
That will seal the fight, no doubt, for Jefferson George, unless there's a major turnaround in the next 25 seconds from Selvarajah, but he may get subbed out.
And it would be ironic if it was a rear naked choke that took the man that usually is the one using them.
Selvarajah staring down the barrel of his 1st ever loss. History may very well repeat itself. It may be Jefferson George back in the winner's circle.
And do you know what, Mike? He's fought so cleverly to negate the man's strengths. I think you're right. I think it's going to be his win. And he's negated the strengths of Rick Selvarajah. And you could see Jefferson's George's corner, body language jumping up and down with joy. And look at the two men in the corners. That says it all for me. That was that punch that started it, Mike, and then suddenly Selvarajah was everywhere, and we knew what was coming. George is so strong, and that body locks on, and you just know it's coming.
Look at that, a belly-to-back suplex, dead centre of the cage from Jefferson George, and he brought it home strongly. He should edge it out here on the judges' scorecards and hand Rick Selvarajah his very first career loss.
Wow.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, okay, cool, all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for both fighters this evening. Come on! 3 exciting rounds, and we go to our judges' scorecards. Your winner by split decision in the red corner, Rick Selvarajah.